I've owned pets since pretty much forever, and I got my first exotic reptile when I was 13, and that was my ball python. Since then, I've just been growing my mini collection, and obviously the number of animals that come in that we don't keep is pretty high since I take in and sell animals, but my actual personal collection has just been this very slow developing number that's at about 20 right now. Like many people that have kept animals, I've had pets die over the years. The far majority were just old age, like a parakeet and my hamsters and stuff when I was younger. But this will be the first time that I'm actually voluntarily decreasing my number of pets. As I've learned, tons of people have to do this, and we've worked with hundreds personally, and it's something that I'll actually get to experience myself. And there are all sorts of reasons people have to do it. Most often it's because of housing changes, financial changes, and sometimes if they've just lost interest in an animal, and that's pretty much the category that I fall under. This is my Kenyan sandboa, Ember, who I think I got in 2016, maybe, if I'm remembering right. I don't even actually remember. She's kind of covered in aspen right now, but this was my maybe 5th snake or so that I had purchased. I got her from Repticon a couple years ago, and she was actually one of my very first impulse buy animals, which is kind of ironic since she's the one that I'm rehoming. So I don't plan on rehoming just a ton of animals out of nowhere. And I've put a lot of thought into whether I actually want to rehome 1 or maybe 2 or even a couple more. And for now, it's gonna be Ember. So I'm gonna talk about why I bought her, how my experience has been with her, and why I'm rehoming her and how I'll do that. I went to Repticon, which is a show in North Carolina with lots of different vendors. Personally, I wouldn't buy from those people again. I wouldn't buy from really anyone at Repticon. But I was going there for supplies, and as it might happen to you, you'll go there and not looking for anything, but something suddenly catches your eye. And for that was this Kenyan sandboa. I love the color orange. I love orange on animals, and she is just a normal sandboa. She was from a rescue. I'm using quotations around that because a lot of people call themselves rescues, and although they legally can, they don't actually work as a nonprofit or anything, and they claim that it was more of a donation I was giving them, but they were a for-profit company. But whatever, it doesn't really matter now, because Ember was still really cool, and I was happy to pay the $80 for her. I'd actually never seen a Kenyan sandboa, and I really hadn't heard of them. I ended up just researching them on my phone, and it turns out I had everything I needed for them. At the time, she was super tiny, so I just needed a 10-gallon enclosure, some aspen, water bowl, hides, and I already had the heating and thermostats and stuff, and the mice, so it was pretty simple to just go ahead and set her up. So I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it, and it was pretty exciting, I'll admit, impulse buying an animal, because you just wake up one day not expecting an animal, and then you go to sleep having a new animal, and that's kind of cool. But pretty quickly on to buying Ember, I went ahead and started doing some different content on her, including a Sandboas versus Hognose video and some other content like my first impressions. I really liked the species, and my opinions on the species hasn't changed a ton. I think it's more so my opinion on snakes a little bit has changed a ton, and on owning some personal animals. Because when I got her, I had maybe 15 animals total, but now pretty much all my time is taken up by just all the different projects we have going on, and so I have to be a lot more selective with the time that I put in. When I do have the time to give to one of my own personal animals, it's usually one of the same few. Most often it'll be the turtles, like Franklin, my red-eared slider, and Harriet, my box turtle, along with some of the lizards like Stan behind me. And Betty is still a pretty cool one. Those are kind of my top 4 that I have probably when it comes to my personal favorites. And then there were those at the bottom that just never really got any attention. The thing is, they don't really need attention. Ember doesn't have to be handled. She doesn't care. She'd rather be under the substrate right now probably. But at the same time, she doesn't mind it too much, because if she did, she would be much more defensive and maybe nipping me or huffy or whatever. But she's always been super docile, and I don't think she minds being out, even if she's nocturnal and prefers being burrowed. But my point is, I can very easily keep Ember, and that's what I've been doing the past few months. For the first time, we've started using some pretty nice tub systems. I've never had anything against tubs. I've talked about this in the past, where tanks versus tubs is a really weird argument, because both aquariums and glass tanks and stuff can work just fine, while plastic tubs can work just fine, and I always prefer the glass because it looks better, and it's more fun to set up. But when you just have animals coming in and out, tubs are super easier, they're cheaper, they're easier to clean, you don't break them when you pick them up, and it only takes one person to move really big tubs. I ended up just sticking Ember with some of the other animals that were already healthy and ready to be rehomed. I wasn't rehoming Ember at the time, but I was thinking I'll put her in just a simple plastic tub, everything she needs. She had her heating, water, food, substrate, and the space, which was adequate for her, and she took up less than a couple square feet in the house. In fact, no square feet, because she was on a shelf So there was space going up and she really took up no area. But once she was here, I was like, wow, I really could just keep her indefinitely like this. She has everything she needs. She's still healthy. She's still doing fine. But what's the point, I guess? I don't get the point of having so many animals in just a massive number that you don't even get to see, or even if you see them for a split second, it just doesn't seem worth it. I'm just buying food for this animal and caring for this animal and paying for this animal. And a common reason that people do rehome is like, maybe they'll say that their snake isn't being handled enough and they want it to be handled more, so they want it to go to an owner that has fewer animals or someone that has more time. And we are happy to help them out and rehome that animal for them if they're sure that they want to do that. But being honest, pretty much every snake doesn't care if it's held and probably prefers not to be. Don't feel bad for handling your snake. I think it's 100% okay, and it's great handling snakes, it's great enrichment, and I think it definitely does have benefits for you and the animal. But Ember, she doesn't miss out on anything. She has a simple life, and I wouldn't really be missing out on much if she didn't exist, to be honest. What's gonna be different for me? I have one extra little tub open and I save maybe $1 a week not paying for her mouse. My point is, what's the point of keeping her or not keeping her? It's really no different either way. And the benefit of not keeping her is it can fulfill and enrich somebody else more who will appreciate her. I get attached to certain animals for sure, but I also don't get attached to others. I'm not gonna pretend that I adore all my animals like identically. I don't love deeply all of my personal animals. There's just a couple that I really like and they were given to me and I'm happy to care for them. And even if I was sad for maybe a few days when they're gone, it might not make a huge difference. So basically my point in making this video is a big part of what we do is rehome animals for people that can't keep them. The number goes up every video. By now, I think it's over 350, maybe pushing 400 animals from people that have had to make the difficult decision that I'm doing to rehome. And I get to experience it myself for the first time, and I thought I would kind of just go over how it's felt to doing that and what it's been like. But there is an additional level to this that applies to some people, including me when it comes to Ember, and that's more on the neglect side. Neglect is a scary and intimidating word, but overall I think it was pretty simple stuff. Basically, Ember ended up getting really fat. So I have help with everything because I literally cannot do all of the jobs. The biggest my team was 4, right now the team is 2, and by next week the team will be back up to 3. And my job is to do all the digital stuff. My full-time thing is doing videos, doing a lot of the financial work, doing the marketing, working the social media accounts, stuff like that, talking to different people I might work with or whatever. And then I have other people do most of the animal care because I just literally don't have time to do it. Now Ember was getting everything she needed. She was getting her usual meal and everything. And she was on a routine that had always worked for her, and I had checked on her very often when she was younger, and it was helping her grow at the right pace. But she ended up eating a mouse once a week, and we didn't actually pull her out very often because she would just stick her head out when it's time to eat, take it, pull it onto the substrate, never see it again. And then I finally took her out to film a video, and turns out she was super chunky, super fat, and not a healthy weight at all. And that was when I kind of made the realization that maybe I should consider rehoming her or doing something. If I managed to go so long without seeing her that I didn't know she added like 50% body weight. Other than that, she was fine. All of her sheds were good, but she did have a stuck eye cap from one of her recent sheds, so we got that off. Now she's back down to her normal weight. She's still bigger probably than the average sand boa girth-wise, but I am comfortable that she's actually healthy enough and happy enough to go to a new home. So it'll be interesting. I'll get to actually see the process myself. For those of you that don't know, Emerald Scales is the site that we do this on. Basically, there's a link you go to, emeraldscales.com/rehome. It takes you through the steps of rehoming an animal, and that's what Ember's gonna be going through. You might be asking, like, are you doing some sort of extra vetting process since it's yours? But the nice thing is I don't have to, because our system I am confident in is so good that Ember doesn't need any special treatment, because my goal is to treat every animal that comes in as if it were one of my own favorite animals and that they get everything they need. Looking at her now, I can actually see Ember has loose skin just from where her fat was that she lost. And it's hard to get a sand boa to kind of exercise because they're not one that moves around. A lot of animals, you can just take them out and they'll naturally walk around or crawl or whatever, or slither. But Ember kind of just sits here, so it's hard to get her to lose weight. In the end, do I regret purchasing Ember for myself? Not necessarily. I do think it's ironic that the one animal I impulse buy is the one that I don't want to keep anymore, because I've just lost interest in her and the species, and I don't think I would keep Samboas again. When I got her, I thought it would be cool to actually breed her at some point in the future, because they're live birth and it would be pretty simple and there's demand for them and it would be fun. But I think breeding projects should actually have more interest to the person doing it. And I'm no longer interested in breeding snakes at this time. Turtles, for the most part, are pretty saturated, and so lizards and axolotls are the two breeding projects that we're targeting right now. So basically Ember has nothing left to fulfill for us, and that sounds kind of brutal, but she doesn't have ears. She doesn't care what I'm saying about her. I think someone else who's been looking for a Kenyan sand boa will get more out of her. I'd be curious to hear, have you rehomed an animal? Have you had to consider it? Why is that? And I definitely want to do videos on why people have to rehome and how you can avoid that if you have not gotten reptiles yet. Spoiler alert, the biggest one is landlords. Landlords do not tend to like reptiles, and we get so many people that either move homes or their landlord changes policy about the animals where they have no choice but to rehome them. We've even had some people where the landlord changes their mind multiple times. First, landlord says all the animals are fine. Then they change their mind and they're like, okay, you can keep 3 animals. And then they keep those 3, they send us the others, and then the landlord's like, can't keep any, and then they send us the last 3 of their animals. So it's just really disappointing and really upsetting when people have to do it not by choice, but because they have to in order to stay where they're living or go to the school that they want to go to or whatever like that. So I'd be curious to hear your experiences with this, and I don't know what else. That's kind of all I got. So this is Ember. Likely the last time you'll see her on the channel, unless maybe that person who gets her will post some pictures of her, and maybe I could follow her there. So I thought this video would feel kind of more melancholy because it's like, oh, I'm getting rid of this animal. But since it's not for a financial reason and not because I have to, I think it feels pretty good knowing that I'm able to do it and I have a way of doing it. It's going to be hard to say this since I own the company that makes money off of people rehoming animals, but it's disappointing just how hard it is to find anyone other than us that can do this safely and comfortably and successfully, I guess, because you could sell because I don't want to sell Ember on Craigslist. I don't want to, I don't know, go on Twitter and be like, hey, where's the nearest reptile keeper? There's just no easy way to do it, so I'm happy that we're able to make that. So to wrap it up, I thought I'd mention I relaunched my Patreon account. It's the same thing as the Go Herping membership. It's just on Patreon instead of through PayPal now. Exact same thing, same perks, which I'm trying to add more perks. I've done some private live streams, you get early access videos, and a bunch of other random stuff for $5 a month. So I think it's a pretty cool trade-off that you can check out with the link below. And thanks to those who are already supporting me. So that's it. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.